What if one man could change the fate of an entire continent? What if a child born on a tiny island rose to rule an empire that rivaled Rome? This is the true story of Napoleon Bonaparte, military genius, political mastermind, and the man who crowned himself emperor. But power comes at a price. In this video, we uncover how Napoleon rose from obscurity, bent Europe to his will, and fell in a storm of betrayal, ambition, and war. This is not just history. This is a legacy carved in blood, brilliance, and battle.
Napoleon Bonaparte was born on
August 15, 1769, on the island of Corsica, just months after France seized control of it from the Republic of Genoa. His birth name was Napoleone di Bonaparte, and though his family belonged to the lesser Corsican nobility, they were far from wealthy. Young Napoleon grew up with a fierce sense of Corsican pride, often resenting French rule. He was shy, introverted, and fiercely intelligent. His father, Carlo Bonaparte, leveraged their noble status to enroll Napoleon in military school in mainland France, an act that would shape history forever. At just 9 years old, Napoleon left Corsica. He didn't speak French fluently, and his accent made him the target of ridicule. But the boy had a mind like a steel trap and an ambition burning brighter than most could imagine. He devoured books on history, war, and classical empires, particularly Rome, and admired military legends like Julius Caesar and Alexander the Great. By the age of 16, he was commissioned as a second lieutenant in the French army. But revolution was brewing, and Napoleon was destined to rise through chaos. The French Revolution exploded in 1789. The monarchy fell, chaos reigned, and war spread across Europe. While many perished or fell into disgrace, Napoleon saw opportunity. He aligned himself with the revolutionary government, and in 1793, at just 24, he made a name for himself during the siege of Toulon. Royalist forces, backed by the British Navy, had taken the port. Napoleon, though only a low-ranking officer, devised a daring artillery plan that led to victory. For his brilliance, he was promoted to brigadier general overnight. The next breakthrough came in 1795, when he saved the revolutionary government from an uprising in Paris. He unleashed a whiff of grape shot, a brutal use of cannon fire against insurgents. It was swift, ruthless, and effective. The government took notice. At just 26, Napoleon was given command of the army of Italy. There, his true genius unfolded. In a series of lightning campaigns, he crushed Austrian forces, forged peace with the Pope, and returned to France a hero.
After conquering Italy,
Napoleon had the fame, but not yet the absolute power he craved. In 1798, he set his sights on Egypt, not just for glory, but to undermine Britain's trade routes with India. It was one of history's boldest and strangest military campaigns. He brought more than soldiers. He brought scientists, engineers, and artists. The expedition revealed the Rosetta Stone, launching modern Egyptology. But on the battlefield, Napoleon's victories on land were overshadowed at sea. The British Navy, under Admiral Horatio Nelson, annihilated the French fleet at the Battle of the Nile. Napoleon was stranded, but he spun the story into victory back home. Sensing the French Republic's weakness, Napoleon rushed back to Paris in 1799. France was reeling from chaos and corruption. Napoleon orchestrated a swift and bloodless coup known as the 18th Brumaire. The government fell. The Republic was dead. In its place, he established the consulate, naming himself First Consul. France was now ruled not by democracy, but by one man. Napoleon didn't stop at First Consul. In 1804, he crowned himself Emperor of the French. Yes, he crowned himself, taking the crown from the Pope's hands and placing it on his own head. The message was clear. His power came from no one but himself. Europe trembled. From 1805 to 1812, Napoleon reshaped the continent. His armies crushed Austria at Austerlitz, defeated Prussia at Jena, and humbled Russia at Friedland. He redrew borders, installed puppet kings, even placing his siblings on thrones. His Napoleonic Code reformed laws across Europe, abolishing feudalism and spreading revolutionary ideals. But the more he conquered, the more resistance he created. In Spain, what began as a quick invasion turned into a brutal guerrilla war. In Russia, his ambition turned catastrophic. In 1812, Napoleon launched the largest military invasion in history. Up to that time, over 600,000 soldiers marched into Russia. But the Russians refused to fight. They burned their cities, retreated deeper, and let winter do the killing. Napoleon captured Moscow only to find it in flames. With supply lines cut and temperatures plunging, the Grand Army collapsed. Only a fraction returned. The Russian disaster shattered Napoleon's aura of invincibility. Across Europe, former enemies smelled blood. In 1813, at the Battle of Leipzig, known as the Battle of Nations, an alliance of Austria, Russia, Prussia, and Sweden overwhelmed Napoleon's weakened forces. He retreated to France, desperate to hold on to his crumbling empire. But the tide had turned. Paris fell in 1814, and Napoleon was forced to abdicate. He was exiled to the tiny Mediterranean island of Elba, a ruler with no throne, no army, and no allies. The world believed his story was over. They were wrong. Less than a year later, Napoleon escaped Elba, landed in France with just 1,000 men, and marched toward Paris. Troops sent to stop him instead joined him shouting, "Vive l'Empereur!" Louis XVIII fled. In just 20 days, Napoleon reclaimed the throne in an event known as the 100 Days. But Europe would not tolerate his return. In June 1815, Napoleon met the Allied forces in Belgium at a village named Waterloo. It was his final gamble and final defeat. After fierce fighting and a late Prussian arrival, Napoleon's army collapsed. He abdicated again, hoping to escape to America. But the British had other plans. He was captured and sent to the remote, windswept island of Saint Helena in the South Atlantic. There, he would spend the final 6 years of his life, exiled from the world he once ruled. On Saint Helena, Napoleon lived under constant surveillance. He passed the time writing memoirs, walking the cliffs, and reflecting on what he had built and lost. "I am the revolution," he once said. He died on May 5, 1821, at age 51. The official cause? Stomach cancer. But mystery and conspiracy still surround his death. Years later, his body was returned to France, where he now lies in the Grand Tomb at Les Invalides in Paris. Napoleon's legacy is impossible to ignore. He was both a liberator and a dictator, a lawgiver and a warlord. He reshaped Europe, revolutionized warfare, and inspired awe and fear in equal measure. To this day, historians argue, was he a tyrant who drenched the continent in blood, or a visionary who tried to modernize a decaying world? Perhaps the truth lies in between. But what's certain is this: Napoleon Bonaparte wasn't just a man, he was a force of history, one that still shakes the world today. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the life of Napoleon Bonaparte, leave a like and comment your thoughts. Was he a hero, a villain, or something in between? Don't forget to subscribe for more epic stories from history and hit the bell so you never miss a new chapter. Because history isn't just about what happened, it's about the people bold enough to change it. Thanks for watching.